All right, welcome everyone. I feel like this has been a long time in coming. We put this group together, man, I think last October, and talked about getting all you doctors together so that I always believe if you get everybody in the room as a collective, we can do some amazing things. And so today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of start out with some expectations, and one of those things is that um, creating a community of doctors that not only learn from each other, but learn more about the products. And I've been in direct sales probably, I think, going on 18 years now, and I have never seen so many doctors flocking to a product before. And so when that happened, I had to be very intentional about starting to reach out to them and really find out, what they were doing with the products and also why they thought they were special. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to have a couple testimonials, and then I've sent out a Google spreadsheet and asked a lot of you guys, what are the questions that you guys want answered? And we're going to do this once a month. So every month, and it'll probably morph. We're going to start out this time probably not answering a lot of questions because we want to get through some of these, but I've hand selected some of the doctors that I know are doing really well in the field with these products and getting their opinions based off of the questions that you were asking. So in saying that, I want to give a disclaimer because we open this up to any of those that also are working alongside the doctors. So what I would love to ask for the ones that are not doctors or in the medical field, I should say, is I would like you to put your screen on black so that we know who is in the medical field, who is not. If you are in the medical field, I would love for you to put your credentials after your name. So to do that, if you're on your phone, you're just going to click at the bottom left and you can click on your name and then it will allow you to put your credentials in there alongside your name. One of the things also that I would love to do is I want to be very intentional that as we're listening, doctors have special privileges. They've gone through school and they can prescribe and diagnose. Us as the normal people, we cannot do that. Okay. So because you're hearing things from the doctors doesn't necessarily mean that you can go out there and say the same thing. So the same thing holds true in a company like this is we want to be very careful that we're not prescribing or diagnosing. We're just sharing our testimonials and then allowing people to take the products. All right. I want to, for those of you that maybe are new to this company and you haven't seen this asset, I wanted to walk through this really quick. We spent a couple months building this out. It's really a doctor to doctor conversation, and we call it the doctor's reference. And you're going to hear from Dr. Todd Wendell in a few minutes. He's one of the guys that just a wealth of knowledge, but he goes through every one of these products and he talks about, we got arrows going on all over the place. He talks about, what are in the ingredients that are in these products, but also, how you can utilize them with your clientele. If you click, once you have this book, if you don't, ask the person that got you involved in this. I'll send it to them so that you guys can get a hold of this. But we've got clinical studies on the raw ingredients. And Alan Jones and a couple of others are going to talk a little bit more in detail about that in a few minutes. One of the other things is that this is a really cool thing, is usually when you have a company like this, it's very black and white. And what Make Wellness really wanted to do is they wanted to create an opportunity for everybody. We know allowing doctors to utilize these products, it only benefits us, right? It only gives us credibility. And so we want to make it as easy as possible because what we've seen in the past is sometimes it's a little hard to do a direct sales company within the four walls of a clinic. And so if you guys are looking to bring these products in and you don't know how to utilize them in a space that feels organic to you, I want you to watch this video on page 11, and then we can talk about how that best fits you. Okay, there's 3 different options that we can run the products through your practice, and again, make it very organic to yourself. Last thing I'll ask is we want testimonials. You're going to hear 2 testimonials to start out with in just a few minutes. And we think that this speaks a ton to the normal person that's out there. It also speaks a ton to the doctors. So many times I think doctors are being sold. And what we want to do is we want to share information, and nothing better than if a doctor is actually using the products, or I should say somebody in the medical space is using the products themselves. And because of that, they're utilizing it with their clientele. So take a snapshot of this. I can also send this to you. So again, if you don't have the ability to take a snapshot right now, there's a little link on here that you can upload your video to. We can put it into the book so that you can be a part of that as well. Okay, it brings me great pleasure to introduce you. Dr. Derek Page, he has an incredible story, and I don't want to take too much time because we only have an hour, but here's what I'm going to do. And I don't like to be I guess, a rule maker, but because we have to roll through so many people today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little timer. And so when the timer goes off, we each have 5 minutes for the testimonial. So I'll start that right now. And Dr. Derek, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I will make this as brief as possible, but definitely below 5 minutes. Dr. Derek Page, I'm a chiropractor, Fort Worth, Texas, 40 years. Have had bilateral knee degenerative changes for years, was doing cortisone injections for a while, but it became necessary to have total knee replacements, and they don't do it. I wanted to do them together, and they said, no way, we'll do them 3 months apart. So I had the first one done in December of 2004. 24, and was scheduled, and I was asking the doctor, I said, well, how long will I be out? And he said, 6 weeks. And I said, I won't have a practice in 6 weeks. I'm planning to go back in about a week. And he said, well, there's just no way. And I said, well, that's what my plan is. And so I started on the peptides late October, November, because we've been using, talking about them for some time in our practice for our auto accident patients. But Reader's Digest version had the surgery on December 17th, and I was back at work 1 week later, a little after a week, but it's the day after Christmas. Not with a walker. I wasn't doing cartwheels, but I was able to work at a limited schedule, but do all my work, and work's fairly physical. And I went for my 2-week checkup, and the PA and the doctor were blown away at the range of motion I had. I had 128 degrees of flexion in my knee, and they said you're in the top 1%. 99% of their patients have 90 degrees at 1 year. And you're here just a few weeks after surgery with 128 degrees, you can stop PT. I said, no, I want to keep going to keep the strength up because I got to do this again. But they couldn't figure out why it happened so fast because I'm 68 years old. I'm not a spring chicken. And so I said, well, we'll test it again in March when we do the right knee. And results were identical. In fact, I did the surgery on a Tuesday. I was back at work the following Monday. And lo and behold, your clumsy person here fell on the stairs 3 weeks later and tore about 100 stitches on the inside of that right knee. And they had to go in for a revision, which they did on a Monday. And I was back at work Wednesday, 2 days later. And so the bottom line is they could not understand how it healed so quickly. And I was relating that we use this for auto accident patients. I related that a torn muscle from a traumatic injury wouldn't be much different than a surgically incised muscle. And I feel like I was correct in my assumption because the healing was extremely rapid. The recovery, they once again said, you don't have to do PT. And I said, well, if I can't do strength training yet, let me go ahead and stay because I set the time aside. So I wanted to make sure I've regimented myself to exercise and do some things. So the bottom line is my personal story on speaking of experience is that I have zero pain. I've never had any pain in my knees. I used a walker for a few days, but I was able to get around without it. Now, I'm not running up and down stairs, but my testimony that I state is that I don't know how there was nothing else that explained the rapid recovery that I have other than the peptides.
Yeah. And you took 2 products, correct? Consistently?
I took a Fit, yes, and Hydrated.
Okay.
I put them in my Yeti. I drink them all day long.
Okay. Well, thank you. And again, I think these stories speak volumes, and we'll talk about the case studies and tests in a few minutes as well. All right, Dr. Kathy, let's go over to you for your testimonial.
There, unmuted myself. Oh, hey, everybody. So I am a trauma surgeon and boarded in surgery and critical care. And I'm also a 7-time full Ironman triathlete. And more recently, I'm doing ultra marathons. I've done 400s and a collection of 50s and 100Ks. And I also treat athletes. I consult with athletes over the past about 7 years with the goal of optimizing performance. So I say all that just so you know the perspective that I come from, very much interested in cellular health and metabolic balance and performance. So in my practice, I've used peptides for a long time now, and they've all been synthetic and all injectable, although recently with the advent of different technologies, some of the synthetic peptides are actually available by mouth. But, they have their limitations, periodically restricted by the FDA and also synthetic, so banned by all doping agencies. They're not legal. So, I started using the Fit product. I'm very, very particular about what I use in my body. And it has to be something that will optimize performance, but not hurt you. And that's really the problem with most of the products that athletes tend to use, is at some point you either become dependent because they've shut down your feedback mechanisms, or you can't use them because they're restricted. So for me, this looked like a tremendous evolution in the peptide space, and the products are all natural, so it was very intriguing to me. And so I used the Fit in advance for about 6 weeks. It was only 6 weeks before Ironman Florida last November that I got my hands on the product. And I noticed within about 2 weeks a tremendous difference in my performance. And I think the biggest thing I noticed was recovery, that leading up to the last few weeks of Ironman, when I'm doing, 6 or 8 hour workouts, the next day not feeling like I had done a 6 or 8 hour workout. So, especially for the older athlete, I'm getting up there, 59, and so I noticed a tremendous difference, and that really got my attention. So the fact that it's natural, that it's not a banned substance, and it doesn't have to be cycled on and off, is tremendous. And the data is very, very powerful. I'm very careful to only recommend things that are have a good basis in science, and human clinical trials were really intriguing. So I've since branched out and used the other peptides, and it just feels really good to have something again that is not just, peptides are the body's they're the body's language. The cells speak to each other with peptides, and it's really nice to have something that's so natural that your body can understand. And in the end, it doesn't hurt you. You don't have to pay a price to optimize your metabolism and to improve performance. So I'm sold on the products. And then further, I've been in this direct sales space for about 10 years. And I can tell you, as a clinician, it's been great for me to enhance cash flow in the office, and to, really tap into the market that our patients are using, but doctors don't traditionally benefit from. They're dropping $100 on a massage every week or every other week, but they kind of sometimes argue with you about your $20 copay. So it's nice to have something to offer them in the health space, and really evolve into somebody that's not just taking care of their disease, but somebody that's really enhancing their health and well-being. So I'm sold all the way around on the products, on the business, and I really can't say enough about them.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm going to bring Alan Jones, which Alan Jones is one of the main reasons why we really, myself and my wife, bought into this business. He's been in the industry for a lot of years, and both on the supplement side and also on the medical side. So Alan, we're a couple minutes over, or a couple minutes ahead of schedule. And so will you just quickly give just a quick synopsis of that story and why you ended up coming over here before we jump into some of the topic discussions? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely, Nate. First off, I ended up at Make Wellness, not because I wanted to be at Make Wellness. As Nate and Jen both know, and a lot of other people know, I'm a pretty skeptical guy, being a scientist and especially being in this business for 34 plus years now. So, um, when Justin Prince, our founder and chairman, kind of started talking to me about coming to Make. And I've known Justin for a long time. He's one of the most respected, one of the one of the individuals in this business that I respect the most. I mean, tremendous guy. But I was very skeptical of bioactive precision peptides. And, as physicians, I know probably all of you are or were as well. And, for good reason. We really don't know what they are. And I certainly didn't. I had done in the process of doing my doctoral dissertation, had done a big section of that dissertation on therapeutic peptides and had no inclusion whatsoever of bioactive peptides because I just did not know. And so my skepticism led me down this path of a real deep dive into the research. And the research allowed me to understand that there's this whole world over here of bioactive peptides that have been here for a very long time, but we know nothing about. And so once I learned that, and once I was able to dig into the research and talk to the scientists that have developed our main peptide ingredients, I became a believer, and then I started using the product. And you got to be a product of the product. If you're not using the product, you can't honestly say what this product can do for you or what it will do for you. And I will tell you that this product, these products, and for me, it was fit in the beginning. That was really all we had, though, back in those days, before we had any other products, and it was tremendous. I could not believe the way my body was responding to it, and so I'm my own best guinea pig when I'm formulating, and I formulated literally thousands of products over the 34-year career that I've been in this business, and I'm my own guinea pig. I start with me first, and I will tell you that it's impressive. And I know you guys are using the products, or you wouldn't be interested in being here. So, yeah, very skeptical.
Well, so let's move into one of our topics of discussion. And this one was, there was quite a few doctors that had brought this up. And so, you and I had talked about, let's definitely tackle this and talk a little bit about it. And so, what are some contraindications, if there is any, and specific to antidepressants? There was a lot of doctors that were asking about that.
Yeah, so contraindications, and I'll kind of take this into two parts. First off, I'll talk about our peptides that are in the four products, soon to be five products that have peptides. Those specific peptides are basically peptides derived from naturally occurring proteins. And there are no contraindications other than unless you've got somebody that might be sensitive to some type of specific protein or an amino acid issue, there are some of those issues out there. They're very, very, very rare. But there are no contraindications for our peptides. Now, there are a couple of, there's one product, Calm, that have a couple of amino acids that are catecholamine, and actually, I should say not only Calm, but Calm and Energized, that are catecholamine increasing amino acids. Now, I don't think that there's going to be specific um, contraindications for those amino acids at the levels they are. You've got to look at GABA and maybe some of your antidepressants. Still, I think the interactions are going to be very, very rare. But for the most part, we have not seen any negative contraindications on our side or got any reports of any negative reactions on our side from any of our products thus far. So we're very confident in that.
Okay. And we have a couple minutes for this discussion. Does anybody have any questions specific to that?
I have one if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Christine.
can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I don't have good service in my house, I guess. I'm Christine. I'm a nurse practitioner. I run a functional medicine practice, background in intensive care, family medicine, and all of that. My biggest thing is I have a patient who is on lithium and wants to use the Calm and the Focused, and I was a little worried not let him buy it yet. So I want to get your opinion on that.
You know, let me tell you something. I know of a lot of other of our affiliates and customers that are on either those or very similar type products, and they're not having issues with them. So if I was in your position, I will say this: I would monitor it, as I know you will, but I would not hesitate allowing them to use those products. And what you might find is that it might actually decrease some of the levels that they're having to use at the moment over time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. I've been asked by multiple patients with Hashimoto disease if it is contraindicated to use Calm because of the lemon balm. Of course,
No.
everyone's Google searching it, and that's what shows up on Dr. Google. And I didn't exactly know how to answer that.
Yeah, so lemon balm at very, very high doses, you might have an issue. Jamie, not at the dosage that we have in our calm.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so next topic of discussion, two, and Alan will take the first piece, is the studies. We've had a lot of people that are asking, are there studies on the bioactive precision peptides?
So the answer to that question is that yes, there are studies on the specific peptides. The second part of that answer, Nate, is that there are no existing studies on our products. We're a very, very new company. So in the beginning, as is very common in our industry, we have to rely on the science supporting those specific peptide ingredients. Now, I will tell you that our formulations philosophy is to look at those peptide ingredients, look at the biochemical pathways that those ingredients are having an impact on, and then provide support nutrients that help to enhance and optimize the effectiveness of those ingredients. And that's exactly why you'll see, I'll tell you straight up, you will see Peptistrong, which is our peptide-based product, in other products. And you will see that Peptistrong by itself. But I will tell you that, and I know this firsthand, the people that are using Peptistrong by itself are not getting the same results as what we are getting with our product, because those support nutrients are not there to help drive those biochemical pathways from beginning to end. And that's the difference in our products.
Love it. Well, and then that brings up the next topic, the case studies. So for those of you that are watching that aren't a part of this, we've put a group together of different doctors that are specific to different areas that we're going to start to do case studies on. And Dr. Jamie Edwards is one of those. She's one of the first that has stepped into that role. And so, Jamie, will you tell us a little bit, kind of guide us through, for the rest of them, what they can expect from these studies, and kind of what, I guess, right now you're focusing on so that they know what's coming?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Jamie Edwards, family nurse practitioner, master's prepared. I own a independent private practice in Wisconsin. My specialty is metabolic health. Really have spent all of my career since 2015 focusing on metabolic disease and creative and intimate ways to help people reverse that and prevent it. So I'm super jazzed to be part of the clinical study. The team has put together an awesome study protocol, and it's, looking at it here, it's 5 or 6 pages. And so to me, that just exemplifies how valuable this is and how it's going to be run as professional as any study could be run. It's very inclusive. Just some of the highlight points on here are the study design, population and eligibility, and then we have inclusion and exclusion criteria, study duration, the things we're monitoring. For my particular clinic, we're running a wonderful length of a study. And so I'm just really excited to have the protocol, really excited to have, I already have a really intimate relationship with my patients because of the way that I run my private practice. And so I'll be choosing the participants based on the inclusion and exclusion criteria and my ability to maintain an intimate relationship with them throughout the study. One thing that during my chunk of the study, will be focusing on is the measurement. So we're going to be doing an in-body scan, beginning, middle, and end, and measuring some labs, beginning, middle, and end. So we're just going to get great data that I can't wait to have on paper and be able to kind of wave around and say, haha, look at this. And then from the business part, that's just going to be super exciting because there's going to be people walking around all over the place with excellent experience and numbers to stand behind it, which will just increase sales. So I don't know, Alan, if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in, but I'm just super jazzed from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Jamie, I will say that we're equally as jazzed as you are as well. And I will say, I hope when we look at this protocol, we're not taking this lightly at all. And I fairly certain that the expectations that we had were far surpassed with what we are actually providing to our healthcare practitioners that are participating in these studies. And it was very important to us to make absolutely sure that everybody knows how important this data is to our company, our affiliates, our customers, and our physicians as well. And what you have to understand is that data that we're going to gain from these studies is going to help drive bigger, longer, full clinical studies on each one of our products in the very near future. So everything that we're doing right now is to gather information so that when we go build our big study protocols, we know exactly what we're looking for. We know exactly what we want to see, and we're driving those clinical studies in a way that we're not manipulating the data. We're eliminating all the bias that we can. We're eliminating all the potential issues that we might have right now with these smaller studies. They are very, very, very important to our company and to our success.
Yeah, and in talking to Mark Bartlett, who partners with you,
Yeah.
He was amazed at how many doctors actually wanted to be a part of this case studies. In fact, I kind of overdid it and invited about, I think, 12 or 15 all at once. And they had to kind of pull back the reins and be like, you know what, we need to start one at a time. So we're going to stagger them. So those of you that we had those discussions, just know we're going to be reaching out to you here in the next couple weeks to a couple months as we stagger those out. So each one of you were very, very valuable in those conversations. And so we'll continue to be doing those.
Yeah. And Nate, if I might add, I mean, an example of that is the amount of time that we have spent with Jamie on the phone, learning her practice, learning her capabilities, learning all the things that we have access to in partnering with Jamie so that we can build the proper protocol, so that our objectives are known right up front. This is what we want. This is what we need. This is what you have to have, it's a major partnership, each one of these. So it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a little bit of time to put this stuff together. We're working on informed consent documents now, and that'll be coming in the next couple of days. But those are full legal documents to protect all of us as we go through these studies. And so they will be conducted according to CFR, whatever that section is that says that for human clinical studies, this is the way we have to do it. And so they will be done right, I promise.
Love it. Okay, let's go to the next screen. And you guys, I'm super excited to introduce these two doctors. And I think Dr. Sarah Outlaw is probably the epitome of what we all want to accomplish. I mean, as of right now, she's been in this for I think 7 or 8 months. And I asked her, how much volume is her team doing right now? And they're doing anywhere from 100 to 150,000 a month in sales. And so, that's only going to get bigger. And as we start to pick up momentum. So, Dr. Sarah, would you come on and share? I thought you were the perfect person when somebody's asking, what's the best practices for approaching clients and patients and really introducing them to the products. I thought you would be the best one to kind of speak into that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I have a functional medicine practice in Iowa, and I also have a worldwide virtual practice. So we're implementing the products in both of those avenues. So we use them in practice and we use them in the virtual space as well. So for me specifically, how I've been introducing them to my patients is it's pretty seamless because I use products normally. So I'm a muscle tester and I use blood work to determine what type of program someone needs to be on as far as supplementation. And we do stock most of our products in-house. So people are used to going to the front desk after I've created a targeted protocol for them, purchasing their products and going out the door. Well, this is a little bit different model, right? So depending on how you did it in your practice, I will just have them. I have a QR code at my front desk. They click on the QR code and they check out that way. So I actually add the products that I've chosen for them from Make Wellness to their supplement protocols. And it's literally been no issue at all. They get the product and they take the product and they come back the next time I see them and they give me the results of the product, just like they would anything else. So it has been very, very seamless. So my best practices really are, however you run your practice, if you're a practitioner, just bring it in and let people know that you're educating first, right? So I educate first. So I started talking about the product. I signed up on August 4th of last year, so right when Make Wellness pretty much launched, and I started talking about the products to my patients as soon as we found out what they were going to be. So I started sending newsletters out, educating about plant peptides. Everything we learned from Alan, I would go to all Alan's Thursday night talks, and I would take all of that information back to my patients and say, hey, listen, this is what we're doing, this is what we're learning, and even started educating them about therapeutic peptides as well, so that they would know the differences. And then I actually did a little workshop, a patient-only workshop, where I introduced precision peptides to them, told them it was coming soon, and all of the information that we were getting from the boards and everything we were learning from Alan, just passing it along. So by the time the products launched in November, they were all on board. I mean, our team volume was over $400,000 in December. Like, it was crazy. It was like exploded. Most of my sales are from patients because it solves a problem that our patients have. They're tired, right? We have a lot of tired mamas. We have anxiety. We have, kids that are having anxiety. And as a clinician, I can decide, and you can decide if you're a clinician, if you want a child to be on the product. That's, your choice as a clinician to do that, a parent's choice. So we've been able to implement all of these products. We do a lot of adrenal health work at our practice, mitochondrial health. So these products were fitting in seamlessly. So that's basically what we've been doing, is just bringing them in as part of a protocol, not as something extra, but as part of integrated in. So they're not on more things. It's just part of their regular protocol. And it's been an incredible journey to see the results are pouring in. I do my own little clinical studies with people, just seeing the results and kind of tracking the results. So that has been a really cool thing to see over the last 7-8 months.
Love it. Love it. And for you guys that, again, haven't used the doctor's reference, we have tools in there. We also have a team that we're putting together that are collecting a lot of these tools, like Sarah and some of the other doctors that have drip campaigns and have, documentation that they're training up their staff with. And so we'll have all that stuff available for you, I would say, within the next 3 weeks to a month, where you guys can just be pulling things out of there and then you can make it your own. So, all right, let's, Dr. Nick, are you available to kind of share a little bit about how you do it within your practice?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sorry for the black screen, everybody. My name is Dr. Nick Hamilton, and I am in Louisville, Colorado. I've had a med spa, co-owner of a med spa for the last 9 years. So we've always dealt with a lot of the synthetic peptides. We've done a lot of weight loss, primarily started out just with HRT, so dealing with a lot of hormones. So it was really fun and exciting for us when we brought in Make Wellness. And I think just to kind of, carry on with what Dr. Sarah said, promoting around the office, educational options around the office, getting our staff really on board and having them use the products as well, so they can speak highly of it and to the patients as far as how it's helping them. But where we see really it worked for us is a lot of people coming in for peptides don't want to take injections. And I know Dr. Kathy earlier said there are some that are oral now, but this is a great avenue for those, those patients that do not want to take injections. They want something that's not synthetic and more natural. And it just fits really hand in hand with what we've already been doing. A lot of people want to come in and do weight loss, but they don't want to be on the GLPs. And, they are for some, they're not for others. And so getting on the lean side of things for that has been tremendous for us. So just a great addition to our practice as far as what we were already doing. Again, I think, Dr. Sarah said it's seamless. They just fit in so well with, the hormone, the weight loss, the peptides that we've already been doing. So it's just been a really great addition.
Love it. And you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys sell the first one off the shelf retail, and then you send them the QR code and get them set up with their subscription afterwards, correct?
That's exactly right. So we have the product on the shelf. We get them started. We get that in their hands while they're there, and then get them all set up. Yes.
Got it. Does anybody? We have a couple minutes for this section. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. Oh, somebody say something? No. All right. So last discussion for today, and this is one of my favorite guys to listen to. So smart, so brilliant. Dr. Todd Wendell, will you come on and talk a little bit about how you partner the bioactive precision peptides with the synthetics? And I think you've heard it before. There's doctors that they believe in one thing. There's doctors that believe in the other. And I feel like you do a really good job of really assessing what the patient needs and kind of adapting based off of what you have available. So can you share a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. In this group, I don't feel that way, but yeah, a little bit of background. I saw the benefits of some of these GLP ones probably about 5 years ago when we started implementing. I've crunched some numbers, and of course, from a marketing standpoint, we keep track of these things. I've taken well over 3,500 people on the injectable GLPs, starting with semaglutide and tirzepatide, moving into tirzepatide. And we kind of market around the community that we've helped our local community lose over 100,000 pounds. And so when we dove into this, I shared the same sentiments that everybody was talking about earlier. All these other doctors is metabolic health, and that is truly the game, because that metabolic health, as a chiropractor, extenuates into other circumstances. So if we can take the load off of joints just by losing weight, if we can reduce the cardiovascular risk factors, the stroke risk factors, which is all part of this game, and then even reduce the estrogen loads through the pathways that we're actually working with, then it's a win-win. And part of what I looked at when jumping into Make was what a phenomenal way to be able to partner this with and potentially reduce the load of these injectables. And or I love the concept of a patient journey. And it's one of the things that I've learned in my practice, that if you do not tell patients where they're going, they will figure it out on their own and then often fall off track or go somewhere else and all these types of things. So this fit into our patient journey to be able to say, hey, look, if we're going to do the GLP ones and we're going to go along these lines, what does it look like? Because they have these questions. What does it look like? Do I have to be on this forever? Or where do I stop this? And then as they go down this path, they get into this position that like almost they're kind of get addicted to it. The addiction to it, because they look good, they feel good, they don't want to go back and have that rebound effect, which of course the make peptides plug in brilliantly for this, because now we have an oral version. And I'm going to give you five main reasons that I came up with of why we do this. But the other concept too that I always kind of bought into, I played in compound pharmacy, so we never bought into the insurance model. We wanted cleaner versions of it, pure versions of it, and we wanted to be cost effective for a lot of people. And so I coined this concept of lowest effective dose. And in anything in medicine, we always want the lowest effective dose, right? Medicine can heal or it can poison just based on dosing. And so we even started microdosing with people, and that was our way to titer off or titer down. We were even playing around with, most of you guys know that these GLP-1s are just once a week injectable. We were skipping weeks. We were going once a month to try to go, or lower doses on a more regular basis. And I come into this talking tonight, talking to, the doctors, talking to potentially the non-doctors that are here. You're going to run into people that are on these GLP-1s. I think the statistics are growing, but like 1 in 8 has been on a GLP-1 at one point in time, is either currently or has past been on it. Just millions of these scripts are going out there. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we actually come in and help these people understand that there are different avenues, or as I like, come in and come alongside what they're already doing, and then be able to kind of slowly turn that ship. As a chiropractor, I've always been in natural aspects of things. One, because I can't prescribe medications. How we did this GLP-1 program was to actually integrate with a medical doctor to be able to get these scripts. But I would always come alongside. So like if somebody had some joint pain and they're taking Tylenol all the time, let me show you some natural alternatives to that. And they were like, well, I don't know. Can I stop my Tylenol? I'm like, tell you what, take it in addition to your Tylenol, and then we can start you tightening off. And this is the same concept that I look at. So we kind of break it down into phases, and I make is no different than that. If you have people working through phases, but there's that initial phase where we should get to that weight loss, the fat loss. Our ultimate goal is to get that visceral adipose tissue off, right? So that down and maintain muscle mass. That's the game. And so if we can do that, automatically that person wants to go on to phase 2, which would be essentially tightening off those. And this is where we start to plug that the peptides in. Going back, if you meet somebody that's on a GLP-1 and maybe doesn't want to try the lean, we put in the fit right away. I mean, it has to be, because you guys know some of the history of the GLP-1s. These people, they get gut issues, the appetite's gone, they don't eat regularly, even though you can encourage them, you can do nutritional counseling, things like that. They just don't eat. And if they do eat, that's little a bit, so they forget to eat. So putting the fit in to help them maintain muscle mass and not catabolize that musculature is the keystone on that, because again, that's what's eventually going to keep and maintain that metabolic activity or metabolic rate, their basal metabolic rate, their resting calorie burn. So if we're losing fat and losing muscle at the same time, it's not as good there too. So again, that's kind of the concept of the microdosing and being able to titer people back. And I'm using it, the same Tylenol studies. We're just plugging these peptides in to say, hey, we're going to come alongside you at this point, and then be able to reduce that load. So I came up with 5 things that we've seen. Obviously, the dosing load. Number 1, the dosing load goes down. 2, the cost. So when we're talking to people, and you guys will have the same experience when you're talking to people, how much are you paying for your GLPs? Whether they're getting it through insurance or they're getting it through compound pharmacy, they're spending quite a bit of money on this. And so to parallel that and say, hey, if there's a way that we could reduce that load, but still have the same effect, would that be something that you're interested in? And 100% of the time, people are like, absolutely. And then, of course, as mentioned earlier, we're taking an oral version of that, okay, that has the same potential same effects as these types of things. So they're not injecting. So we have like a not only convenience, but sometimes a safety. I mean, we've done, thousands of these doses, and occasionally you'll get somebody that has, an infected area that they just didn't treat the injection right, or they have a reaction to it and things like that. So the convenience and safety is number 2. Number 1, reducing that load, decreasing costs. And then there is significant evidence to suggest that the more that you use GLP-1s, the less effective that they get. So the body can build up some tolerance to that. So even if somebody is not at their goal weight and wants to take a break for a while, it's one of these things that we can actually parallel or come in put in the lean for a while and allow that tolerance to build back up where they're having that effectiveness. We get this a lot. People will table. They're like, gosh, I lost all this weight and now I don't seem to be able to get that weight off anymore, or it's not working like it used to. Well, they could be building up some tolerance. We don't know yet on GLPs but there's some studies coming out that potentially these GLPs are genetically deficient. They could be environmental causes that make them deficient on there. So there's going to hit a threshold that people start to get the losses or the gains that they desire. But then that's going to table, just like you get used to Tylenol. In our family, we joke because we just don't take medications. But if somebody's got some pain and they take a Tylenol, it's like, wow, it works. It's like, wow, that stuff's good. And it's like, okay. But it's the same thing with the GLPs. So you're going to actually build back that tolerance and make it more effective if they were ever to come back on that. The big point, last point that I want to bring up is also on the patient journey, you're creating a sustainable program for their longevity. So that's the biggest component. When people think, and this is where you kind of, get into their pain points, but what would it look like for this person? What would it look like for you a year from now? Well, I really don't want to be on that injectable for the rest of my life. Great. So here's the phases that we're going to walk you through. At this point, once we've gotten the ideal metabolic activity shifted over, you're at your ideal BMI, body fat percentage, things like that. This is where we plug in, and then we give you a program that's going to last you a lifetime.
Love it. Love it. Does anybody, we have a couple minutes, does anybody have any questions on anything that he brought up?
I know everybody's a little shy. I know it's a lot just thrown at you there.
Well, I think as we start to meet more, I think people will come out of their shell. But let's do this. So let's move into the last slide. I just wanted to number one, let you guys know we'll always respect the hour. So we're going to do this every month from this point forward. The next one we're doing is on August 14th. You'll be able to get the same link at the back of the book. So we'll always have the back of the book where it has both the date and that link to get into here. Okay, keep an eye out on that book as we update it. It's in real time, so as we're starting to put more and more tools in there, all you have to do is refresh it, and you're going to have more available to you. So we'll have different videos in there. Like I said, we'll have drip campaigns. We're going to be working on all kinds of different things. And here's the other thing: if you guys feel like there's something that you need, please reach out to myself or whoever got you involved in this that has a connection to me, and let's get that on the list. Because right now I'm making a checklist and building it out based off of what we think we need and what some of the doctors have said they need. So as those come up, we want to fill that to make your guys' job as easy as possible. And also, we didn't talk a lot about this, but it's not just about you getting it in your practice, but once we can start to duplicate this, right? Once you can do it at a very high level, well, guess what? You can talk to a bunch of other doctors. We all run in circles, and you guys could talk to a bunch of others, and now you're creating a residual income based off of the volume that they're doing. And so that's really, in the long run, what we're trying to do is create a duplicatable system that can just be passed along from doctor to doctor. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this first one. We respect you guys a ton and know the value that you bring to this business. And so have a great night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.